Hey guys, Oldhead Mike here, bringing you another album. Do you like metalcore? Do you like two-steps? Do you like breakdowns? Do you like the X-Files? Do you exist? Do you not exist? Then boy do I have the album for you. This episode is very special to me as I have a preview, early review copy of the new Am Abomination album, Passion of the Heist 2. This band has been one of my favorite bands for a long time. They've been around since MySpace days. I first got into them around 2010 when my friend showed me this band. Thanks, Raimi. Now, this band is almost impossible to describe by genre. Yeah, they're metalcore, I guess, but it's their own style, their own take on metalcore. If you listen to them back to back with any other metalcore band, they really sound nothing like them. The closest bands I could ever compare them with would be like Issues, Era, and Protest the Hero. But none of them can write a catchy hook like I Am Abomination can, honestly. They've got all of the pieces of, I guess you'd call it second wave, third wave metalcore. Real dancey parts, breakdowns, two-steps. But the most special part about I Am Abomination is the vocals. They use strictly clean vocals. Outside of Phil sounding kind of angry at times. This is survival of the fittest! Where is your savior now? All of the harsh vocals or screaming come from guest vocals, which are really highlighted, especially in this album. This band has given us the greatest Caleb Shomo guest spot that's ever existed. Alright, so let's dive into this album. The album title is called Passion of the Heist 2. Good lord, is this thing a monster. I'm absolutely in love with this album. Best work they've put out. This album is so grown. It's so mature. You're probably going to feel like I'm just dick riding this entire review. Before this album, they had another album, and before that, there was an EP called Passion of the Heist. This is a sequel to that EP. This album makes the EP sound like a movie trailer. First off, I'd like to touch on the vocals, because that's always been one of my favorite parts of this band, and it's my favorite part of this album. Now, Periphery is essentially my favorite band of all time. I listen to at least one Periphery album every day when I'm at work. On paper, Spencer, or as I like to call him, Spons, is a better vocalist than Phil from I Am Abomination. Spons has ridiculous range, cleans, he harshes. He can reach some ridiculous octaves. I've literally cried the first time I heard Satellites on Periphery 4. But god damn it, does Spencer sound dispassionate and forced compared to Phil on this album. Phil has so much soul behind his voice on this album. It's ridiculous. That soul is the only way I can describe it. Phil is from New Orleans, and hey, if you're watching this, Phil, I grew up in Hammond, so your voice speaks to me on another level. Praise. His voice on this album has a layer of grit behind it that's not really present on their other albums. It really puts this album on just a whole nother level. Especially on the tracks Greatest Sin and Arcadia. Straight power. Just chills. God damn, dude. Can I get an amen? The guitar work is phenomenal on this album. So much more noodly than before, with some incredible solos, but not overdoing it. Constant riffs. I Am Abomination has always been about their riffs and their hooks, and there's no shortage of them here. I dare you to go find a song catchier than Lamb to the Slaughter. And on this album, they have a re-recording of a 2009 song of theirs, Heir to the Throne. I say it's a re-recording, but honestly to me it feels like a reimagining. The structure feels so different, so improved. It features Tim and Scott from Polyphia, and this song sounds so much more massive and heavy than the previous version. The entire tone of the song sounds just darker and more menacing than the original, and it fits perfectly in the flow of this album. And on that, the drums on this album are actually their first live recorded. All the previous albums had programmed drums, but if I hadn't told you that, you probably never would have known. The stick wielder here is none other than Chris Turner from Ocean's 8 Alaska. He does a full playthrough of Heir to the Throne on YouTube, which I'll put in the description. I was blown away when I watched it. You have to watch it to fully appreciate the intricacy of their work on this album and his work on this album. Just watching him play it makes it seem so much heavier than just hearing it. I love Lamb to the Slaughter. When they first put out that single, I swear to God, I listened to it multiple times a day. And when I got a hold of this album copy, it's not even the best song on there. On the track Way of Sorrows, this is probably my favorite song on the entire album. I never thought the triple vocalist dynamic could work, but it do. If they could put out a full album together, I can't even imagine it. The craziest part of this song is that it doesn't just sound like an I Am Abomination song with features from the vocalists of Era. It sounds like an Era song mixed with an I Am Abomination song. Half Era, half I Am Abomination, just perfect. Sorry if I sound like I'm dick riding, because I probably am. This album is pretty much perfect. So many bands have done the crowd-funded album format before and had disastrous results, and these guys really, really pulled it off. They put so much love and passion into this album. Now, if I had to pick one gripe, it would be that I didn't get any emotional moments from the album. I wanted to be hit with like an emotional slap in the face. My biggest goal is to find bands that can just make me fucking cry. And I Am Abomination's lyrics have always been about an oncoming invasion or the fallacies of the church or a mixture of the two. And it's always been my favorite part of their music. Phil's sweet crooning over songs about violent alien death, it's really something special. But he's shown on this album how much further his voice can go. And I feel like if they put some extra emotional touches, they could really pull some heartstrings. They come really close on the track Arcadia, which is about a lover's death, being eviscerated during the invasion, and this man turning into a hero. It's a really beautiful song. You can tell Phil had some real passion singing this. I just want to hear him explore that more. So what starts with a slow, heavy instrumental track, dives into pure riffage, picks up the pace into some dancey two-steppy songs, mellows out into some soul-filled crooning, and ends with a crushing finale with Ben from Shadow of Intent that sounds like it would come off of a Village Harta album. It's an absolute roller coaster that just makes you want to hop right back on. I'm giving it a 9.5 out of 10. And as I've said before in my previous videos, a 9 out of 10 is basically 100 if this was an exam. Since it's a 9.5, if this was a college exam, they would get 105 for sleeping with the teacher. Was it good for you? Because it was good for me. Right now, I can probably call that this is going to be album of the year for me. I don't see anything topping it. I honestly might even put it in my top 12 of all time. Just wonderful work, guys. And on that note, I want to thank you for coming to the Oldhead Mike Show. Please give me a like and a subscribe. share if you can. As always, check my description where I'll have my Spotify playlist with all of the tracks featured on the show and my favorite tracks from the album I review. I will add more when this album officially streams, since it's a preview copy. And I will see you guys hopefully next week when I have my next movie review. I'm in the process of building a PC right now, so my quality will be much better soon, I promise. And as always, Oldhead Mike signing off, reminding you that you're never too old for this.